Warm greetings. Welcome to our research on women in architecture, which we broadly call as women in built environment. In this research, we are trying to understand the life of women who are really working in various aspects of built environment. And the method is called autoethnography, which in simple words means your biography or the woman's biography and our pen or our text or manuscript, you can say. The idea is to actually acknowledge and appreciate the life or the journey of the woman in the built environment and how they have maneuvered through over the years and how they have really found a way and the position in which they are today. The major outcome which we are expecting out of this research is in the form of a manuscript, which we wish to make as a coffee table book. But apart from that, we are already having a YouTube series on each of these women expression on various aspects. It's not only life. So today we have Banashree Banerjee with us, and welcome Banashree. And it's really nice that you could take out time for us to discuss about you, because that's the focus. And while you discuss about yourself, we will also discuss about the architectural pedagogy and practice together. This discussion will be recorded as well as it is live streamed. So I hope you are fine with it. So welcome once again, Banashree.
Thank you so much, Mansee, for including me in this research of yours. Yes, it's perfectly all right to record.
Thank you so much. And yes, your time is precious for us. So we'll try to keep it as simple as possible. So let me take you many years back into your journey. We are interested to know, how did you land up in architecture, and what was your high school time, and who were the people you were looking up to, what circumstances?
Okay. Well, the thing is, how I landed up in architecture was basically because, I think I attribute this a lot to my parents. Because, my father was a forest officer, and during the holidays, we always went with him. My mother had to keep us, busy with whatever was available around, and not so that we wouldn't be up to any mischief. So a lot of it was around somehow, making models of buildings and bridges and houses and all that. So all that started when I was quite small, actually. I think I must have been 9, 10 or something like that. So that got me interested. And then in school, when I was studying geography, there was this thing of, we had this thing of lands and people. And there I was always interested in how people build their houses and things like that. So it sort of naturally followed that when I finished school, I went to boarding school in Loreto Convent, Lucknow. And so when I finished school, then I wanted to do architecture. And this was, right from when I was in the 9th, and my parents were very happy with it. And that's how I sort of landed up with architecture. I appeared for 2 exams for 2 schools. One was IIT Kharagpur and the other was what is now IIT Roorkee. Got into both, but then, at that time, this Nakshal trouble, 1970, was at its height. And so everybody said, no, don't send your daughter there. My dad said, yes, she'll go and join the Nakshal, so I'm not going to send her there. So then I went to Roorkee, and that started a very nice, wonderful journey, really.
Yeah, interesting. Because we are discussing more on being women in the profession, let me ask you some of your experiences from your undergraduate, postgraduate time. And often when I'm doing this conversation, I try to reflect upon what I went through so that it's good conversation. We can see the timeline also. During your years of graduation and post-graduation, did you ever feel that being women in the profession will be a different ballgame altogether? Or because our teachers never signaled it, to be honest. In my case, at least, they never signaled it. And girls were always the toppers in the class. So during education, it didn't even occur in the mind. What was it in your time and in your mind? And maybe your friends' minds, all the girls.
Yeah. In the 70s, there were hardly any women who went in for these kinds of things, architecture more. So I had, there were three girls in my class.
Out of, I'm curious
out
now.
of a total of, I think 28, we were 28.
Okay, so we were equal, so that is a big change.
Yeah. So, and then I was in the girls' hostel, which had 66 rooms, but only 40 were occupied. That's for the whole university, of something like 5,000 students altogether, or more than 5,000, I think. And there were just 40 girls. Yeah. So
IIT is still same year. That's very strange.
but it's improved, certainly, especially architecture. You have a lot more girls, but that time there were very few, and I was right from the beginning. I was the topper in the class, so that helped, I guess. Yeah. But then, what's very interesting is that, coming from an all-girls school, suddenly you're thrown into this environment where you have, in this big university, which is all men, and then in your class, you really have to throw your weight around and actually bully people to assert yourself. So that was quite interesting, especially, Roorkee, I really liked the course because it was very much oriented towards doing practical things, So like for building construction and things like that, So, just for example, you construct an arch or something like that. And my arms really used to ache carrying those bricks, but then I did it because you don't want to
you
seem
have to prove. So you went on to do your master's also, and that was out of IIT Roorkee. Now IIT Roorkee. Was it the same experience in both your graduation and post-graduation, or you had some different experience? Especially when you were coming towards the closure of your graduation, what kind of things were going in your head? What next? Practice karna hai, research karna hai, job pe jana hai, aage jana hai. What kind of things? And was there any ounce of thinking that being a girl may be a different game altogether?
Yeah, actually, after I finished my graduation, then I worked for a year with a private architecture firm, and then I was working on a project which was on construction of primary health centers. This was in UP Public Works Department. So traveling around all over the Badlands, and, sort of supervising all this construction and things like that. It was good fun. But, and then it was then that I decided that I wanted to do my post-graduation. And so on to SPA. And it was, town and country planning with specialization in housing and community development. That's what I did, So there, in terms of experience, I think it was much easier in the postgraduate, even though I think we were in my class first year was common for all the various discipline, and there were 4 of us girls, and out of I think around 60. And then when we went into housing, then I was the only one in second year. All boys,
That's interesting. Because
and again, I was the topper, so things became easy then.
Easier. Because you mentioned housing, and also because we both share Housing Institute as a common platform for us in the Netherlands, IHS at Erasmus University. And you have been teaching there for quite a long time, and you have taught me also there very briefly in the training programs. because you have been involved there and here, do you see a difference in the way women are looking at? I mean, this is not a regular question, but I'm just curious because we share this platform together. Do you see a difference in the way women are really looking at themselves and the institute look at women in India and in Netherlands in similar kind of education? And what is that difference which you experience? How many
Yeah,
years
I
are you
think,
there with IHS? I'm just curious.
yes, yes. No, I think even in IHS, like, when I went as a participant, again, this was in 1983, yeah, to IHS. That time, then again, there were very few women. There was not a single woman staff member in IHS at that time.
Seriously?
Yes. And they came much later. Yeah. So, and it was actually when I joined IHS as a staff member. That was in 93. I was, what was staff member working 25% because I was based here in India and teaching there 25%. Then also there was just one more woman who was there. And I was there, so there were just the two of us. But then I think for women in professions like ours, it's difficult all over the world.
It's
I don't think.
Read that literature, huh? It's the discourse which is going around the world.
Yeah. So this whole thing, there is a thinking that it's men's domain. Though I've somehow sailed through in the sense that I'm not really I've disregarded the discrimination.
You
And
didn't budge
sometimes
also.
maybe, sorry?
You didn't budge also to these differences,
Yeah, I mean, these differences are there. So I guess you automatically start your negotiating and building up your own strategy of sometimes it also means, being more assertive, more aggressive at times. But then it works out. And actually, now that you're talking about it, I'll sort of go fast forward into the time when I sort of experienced a bit of discrimination. Yeah. Not only because I was a woman, but because I was a woman from the global south. Yeah. That I was a team leader for a particular project in which all the others were, white Anglo-Saxon men and quite experienced. So in the beginning, there was this feeling that, why is she the team leader and that kind of thing. So, I just had to work the way I do and like being very businesslike, insisting that people produce what they are supposed to produce and, having these meetings and discussions and things like that. So it took me all of, a couple of months to sort of establish that I'm the team leader. So better do what, it's open, everybody's, has their say, but then, it's me who makes the decisions. Yeah,
absolutely.
So, yeah, so it was, that was the double thing, a brown woman among white Anglo-Saxon men.
Yes, I mean, I think that is still around, it's about how, the subtleties. I mean, even after many years also, I have also similar experiences at few platforms, but things to change very slowly. But let me come back to your early career here in India, and also when you started slowly settling down in your life. I would like to know some of your early experience in practice and teaching in India, and how was it for women in India at that time, and how was it for you, and how were you really negotiating, as you mentioned, being in practice and teaching, or did you teach regularly or ad hoc, as you still do at many places, not only at one? So how was it in the early career?
Okay. So after finishing my post-graduation from SPI, I worked for a short stint as a research associate there. And then I joined Kerala Town Planning Department. Yeah. And there, and then the thing is that Kerala has a number of women in the town planning department. But what was happening is that the general idea was that women are basically there to do desk jobs. Yeah.
The administration, they rely on us.
And that is something, that a lot of times women have, imposed on themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, we do it very well also. So let us accept that.
Yeah. So here I was ready to travel around, and so wherever I was working in the whole, first in the district and then the whole state and things like that. So what happened was that my women colleagues, yeah, they first said, because you travel and you go around, then we also have to do it.
Yeah, it's a pressure on them.
Yeah, so we have to leave our family and children and go and things like that. So I said, well, that's not, that's your problem, how you manage this thing and all that. So, and the point was that there was no demands on them also to do this kind of thing. But then slowly, these, my women colleagues, they started asking me, where are you going? So we have work in the next town or something, can we go with you? Yeah, hey, you can go with me, but you're certainly not going to share my room. So, so what I found that, women from Kerala who are outside Kerala are totally different from those who are in Kerala. And I think it's these kind of social things. Things have changed a lot now, but this was basically in the, 80s that this was happening. But I found absolutely no discrimination. And especially in Kerala, everybody is called sir, whether you're a woman or a man or anybody.
That itself is a patriarchy.
I know it is, but then it is patriarchy. But then it's in another sense that you are accepted as.
Also, in bureaucracy also, it's like sir. Even in architecture, in field, they say sir to us also, many a times.
Yeah. That's right. So, so that's how it was over there. And teaching also, I mean, I didn't really find any kind of discrimination being a woman, really.
You were mentioning about your colleagues, women colleagues who were really giving you insights on this whole family thing and because of its travel and all. Maybe it is a good idea to understand something about you. How was it for you to balance your family life and personal life and professional life then and now? I'm sure we all have graduated to do that, but much better than those times. But what was it with you? To really excel in the profession, but at the same time, give enough time and find that balance.
Yeah, I think eventually it's about management, and it's about having a partner who is who you can where you have an understanding that both people's work is equally important. Of course, when the children are very small, then you can't, you do have to, for a while manage things. But then, and it's also, I think I'm blessed with having very good household help throughout.
Yeah, that's an important mention you make, because
that I think that is very important, and who have actually looked after that part of my household, and so that's what. But I love cooking and doing other stuff like that. But then it's not on a daily basis that I have to do this, because it's always I call myself not a housewife but a house manager.
Yes, I think, yeah, that makes it much easier, at least mentally for all of us, because it's also gender neutral. So whoever is
And
managing the house.
and Mansi, that was one of the reasons why I did not opt for full-time work in IHS, for
Position.
instance. Yeah, because I didn't see myself, slogging and doing all the housework and things like that,
I can
which they
imagine.
have to in those countries. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Let me just go a little bit further and ask you some of the life-changing moments and decisions you made, which has shaped you what you are today. You may give a couple of examples or one, whatever suits you. It can be professional, personal, but we are, as women, I do realize, and I'm also reading through the research, and that I mean everyone for that matter, we are coming across many choices, and we have to choose at some point in time which makes us what we are. So maybe you would like to know a little bit about those things in your life.
Yeah. Well, actually, in retrospect, I think what I managed to do very well is to, make use of all the opportunities that I've had. So, in the sense that initially, I started off by working for the government, and then circumstances for Kerala government. And then when circumstances changed, then I went back to teach in SPA in Delhi, and then joined HSMI, the research and training wing of HUDCO. And then finally went into consultancy. So I think, what has really helped me is that I've always kept my sort of feet in different things. Like, for instance, teaching has been something which I've been doing throughout. So even when I was working with the Kerala government or with, HUDCO and things like that, like even with Kerala, then I was teaching in architecture school in Trivandrum, engineering college. I also worked on, independent projects, which I like to do. For instance, with INTAC, yeah. When I was in Kerala, then I did work on this Padmanabhapuram Palace, and there involved students, which I really like. Yeah, that working with students outside of the classroom. Yeah, and there's so much of learning for everybody to do. So I think this whole combination of practice, teaching, research, and also working abroad, working in India, and all that has kind of made me resilient. And also,
Very well said.
Yeah, and I think you can, you don't become obsolete, because then your practice informs your teaching. And what you learn from your research and teaching then again goes back into practice. So I think this, and also I think at the bottom, what I always want to do is to make a difference, a positive difference, whether it is in terms of, working with students, or even, the slum improvement, which I worked on for a long time. That what can you do as as a professional and things like that, even if it's small changes. It's kind of makes you happy, and makes a difference in other people's lives, and I think that's what's kept me going throughout.
Yeah, interesting. And when I reflect upon what you are saying, I see even in my way of doing things or dealing things, I'm also just trying to flow and be flexible. But when I'm reading the literature, I find it kind of a pattern in the lives of women. This flexibility and, taking things as they come, and even the willingness to change profession or doing this multitasking professional services. Do you think this is out of choice, or do you think it is out of the options which are available to us? I know, I mean, strong women like you, and even I can include myself, that we often see it as a choice that we are making. But when I look at the pattern, I get a very different reflection. So I would like to know from you, how do you see it? I mean, the best thing what I'm learning about women in architecture is this flexibility, and this, women have delimited the very definition of architecture, and they are doing many other things also. So I just want to understand from you, is it coming naturally, or we are blessed with these skills that we are so risk takers and multitaskers that we can really try hands with everything and anything that is coming our way.
I think, women have this ability to do multitasking much more than men have, I think. Yeah. And then something happened, I guess.
No, sorry, my video
It's
got
okay.
tripped. Sorry.
No, it's okay. What I was saying is, I think women have much more of an ability for multitasking. Yeah. Women also have, I think, much more of an ability to accept, changes in their lives and things like that. So for me, I would say that it's been a bit of both. Yeah, a mixture. That initially I tried to do, like, for instance, I thought I'd do my PhD, but I never completed it. Yeah, because then I had to accept that I'm not a person who will stick with a single task and concentrate on it. I like to do many things at the same time. Yeah, and somehow those opportunities have come, like I was saying, and also I must say that I've come across a lot of professionals and who and also people in positions who have helped me to go ahead. Like, for instance, in 1993, the children were small, and I had to, make a change. I had to leave Delhi and go to Visakhapatnam. Yeah, so then I had to give up my job. That's the time that I started doing. I said, okay, I'm going to be sitting in Vizag. Let me start a PhD. Yeah. So then I got also a fellowship and everything for a PhD. Delft University gave me this, permission to do this PhD without doing any courses and things like that.
Off campus.
But then that was a wrong choice, because I should have, that discipline was totally missing and all that. But then what also happened was that there was somebody who advised me that, why don't you go into consultancy? Because he said, you speak to 3 people who are in a position to, give you work. And if even one of them agrees, then you're, you can switch over. And
Yeah, we may start.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about this. I mean, I think the hotspot probably is playing games.
Please continue.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So just a minute. Yeah. So what I was saying was that it's these kind of, influences also, like, for instance, the overwhelming influence of what I read in pretty early stage of my career, John Turner, for instance. A lot of us influenced by that. And then also my my thesis while in SPA on unauthorized colonies and things like that, and then work in IHS has really taken me in that direction. Even my consultancy is all based on slum upgrading, land management, land for the poor, and participatory planning and things. So a little away from architecture, I would say. But then I think for all of us, once you've studied architecture, you're always looking at the world through an architect's gaze, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So you look at things differently. So I would, even though a lot of times people ask me if I'm a sociologist and things like that, but then you work on housing, on self-built housing, then you kind of amalgamate many things together. And that's, it's not only, this kind of stepping across different kinds of institutions and doing different kinds of work, but it's also, different kinds of disciplines. For instance, if you're doing work on, public health, for instance, related with housing,
yeah.
So then you end up attending a doctor's conference, and then people, think that you're a doctor, and
yes.
so it's
profession is blessed also, that we can really transcend various disciplines. It's a blessing of the
and I do think architecture is one profession, at the undergraduate level, at least in one country, which allows people to think for themselves.
Yes.
which is not there I have not come across any other discipline which allows this to happen. And then once, and also like if you're reading some things and you have teachers who can influence you and work with you, and you have colleagues, then, you have that kind of intellectual freedom which transcends gender and, place and things like that, which Absolutely. I think is fantastic. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me come to another question, and I will link it to your work in the informal settlements and all. And because you have, vast experience of working with the well-off professional women and not so economically well-off, but professional women in this sector. You come across all of them. What are some of the common patterns that you see women in any kind of profession across in our country? Because you are working all over the country in vulnerable communities. So, and women are very strong in both both class of the society. But because you work in the slum upgradation and all, and women play a crucial role in the built environment, do you see any commonalities in characters of professional women who are architects and what will be those?
Well, to begin with, I think women who studied architecture normally come from a more affluent background.
Yes.
Yeah. So upper middle class, and things like that. And, at times, like, for instance, I was running an elective course for undergraduates in SPA, and I just called it Housing Dynamics. And it basically meant that, with a bit of small bit of theory, students would go into different kinds of low-income housing environments and decide, talk to the people, see places and things like that, like a squatter settlement, a resettlement area, and so on, and see what is the role of an architect. Yeah. And the people who came for the jury were the community leaders, men and women from those places, to see what they did. So, it was for the first time that some of these students who were then in fourth year of architecture had stepped into a slum. Yeah. So even
And
though they
also,
lived in a city like Delhi. So I'm just as an illustration that architects come from these. But then when I worked with social workers and also engineers who are women, and then also a lot of women community leaders. Yeah?
yes,
So you see that their kind of sensibilities are different in the sense that uh, and they're most of the time working with other women, yeah. But then
yeah,
also people from who've done social work and things. They might be from varied kinds of backgrounds. But I've learned a lot from them in terms of communication skills and working with, especially with participatory planning and things like that. But it's yeah, and I think they're trained to be people, people centric and work with people. So I think their way of working is different, and I'm so happy that I worked with them and learned a
yeah.
lot from them, I'd say. And in terms of affluent and not so affluent, I think you've come across a very powerful, poor women who are community leaders, yeah, and who would go and take on anybody because it's basically
It's
because
for
of the
the,
dire need.
yes,
Yeah,
need.
like you don't have water, so jolly well become a leader and fight your way through it. So it's a different
It's
ballgame
a need,
altogether. Yeah.
it's a dire need that makes them
Yeah,
very
and I
strong
mean, it's
leaders.
all these, yes.
Interesting. Let me ask you one more question around that, and focusing more on Banashree's experience on being a woman when you are working with the policymakers, governments, and when you are working with social activists and social workers and community people. What do you think some of the common challenges and opportunities as a woman one can exercise as opportunity, and as a woman, what are the common challenges as one is facing in our setup,
I
let's
think,
say?
I think it depends a lot on who you're dealing with, because
Yes,
I think it's
sectoral
very,
diversity.
yeah, personal. For instance, that I will just give you an example of, we'd taken the public works department here in my neighborhood in Delhi to court because, they were doing road widening and they started cutting off the trees before even deciding the alignment was decided. Yeah. So we went to court, and then, but before that, we went to meet the minister who was in charge. Yeah. So he thought, here are these two to three women who've come. They look like affluent women and things like that. So the whole attitude, acha aap aaye hain, हाँ चाय वाय पीजिए मैडम और ये और वो, and
They
kind of
didn't.
indulgent, but not serious, not taking you
Yes.
seriously. So that
So
is one.
that's like a भाभी जी आइए वाला हिसाब है ये बहन
हाँ,
जी
that
आइए.
is the. हाँ कि अच्छा आइए मैडम, आप थोड़ा सा अपने हॉबी के लिए you're doing something kind
हाँ,
of
और
thing. Yeah?
आपको ठंडा कर देते हैं थोड़ा सा आपका. हाँ, ये इतना आप नाराज है तो आपको
हाँ,
थोड़ा.
so that kind of thing. But others, I'm happy to say that they accept you as a professional and not and that is also because maybe something, a report you might have produced has been read by them, or that you are introduced as a certain in a
Yes,
certain way and things like
expert,
that.
yes.
So I think the way you're received by policymakers and decision makers is different in different cases. Yeah. So, but then always I think that preamble, that introduction always helps. Yeah. That if you just, but in some cases, my male colleagues have said, why don't you go and speak? It'll be more effective
There's
and
the
things like that.
advantage, yes.
So I don't know whether it's because you're a woman or because you speak more effectively or why. I haven't probed into that.
Yes, both, I guess. And I think it's also the way some of us are raised as, empowered right from childhood also. I mean, from parenting to
Yes.
schooling, So then it is not about gender, it's about being that individual also. That makes it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I
Now,
think so.
let me ask you an interesting question, on hypothetical situation, okay? And this is my penultimate question to you. Because we both know that the profession is patriarchal, or let's say male dominated, and it's global also. But let's focus on Indian context and imagine the situation is just opposite. It's matriarchal situation in our country, in the profession, in architecture. Not that I wish that day to come, but it is just a hypothetical situation. I would really like to live a day when we are not discussing gender at all in our profession.
Yes.
But let's say there are more leading women architects, there are more women architects practicing, teaching, doing all sorts of things. What do you think our neighborhoods and cities are going to look like?
I think, yeah, I think our neighborhoods and cities will certainly be different in the sense that I think women see their environments quite differently from men. I think you'd like much more spaces for better spaces for children, I think, and that's one thing. Safer cities is something, and yeah, I think there certainly would be a change. Yeah, and not that men are not sensitive to these kinds of things, but I think women certainly are much more. Yeah. So and also you see that it's not only women professionals, but then when people in communities, the women become active. Yeah, you see a completely different kind of thing. I mean, they're much more concerned about the community than about individuals than men are. And I think women are not, in general, are not after power. Yeah, they are more for well-being and things like that. So I think certainly I see a much brighter future with women. More
Not that
women
it is
coming.
going to be attained, but there is no harm discussing this. And I am not surprised when you say like this, but because even in this 38th interview, we have got almost similar responses from everybody. So safer, cleaner, greener, healthier, all these are like patterns which people are talking about. So there is something which we can also inculcate.
Also,
in the way,
having said that, I think there's also a question. You see, in a lot of architecture schools, women, the girl students outnumber boys.
now, yes, I have
Yeah.
experienced that in southern India.
Yes, especially in southern India. So are we seeing a future where we have more women designing cities, buildings, and things like that, or having studied, they'll just go back into managing their households and not really making a change? So that is my big question. And
apprehension, yeah. But very well put that point, because nowadays, as per statistics, we have same number of girls and boys graduating. But when we see that getting translated into women in the profession, see, there are two things here. I mean, just deviating from our main conversation, but I think it's important to point out here. The thing is, when I was conceptualizing this research, I used to go as public speaker. You know that I do this very often as public speaking. And I used to ask students in the class that give me 5 names of women architects. And students would never be able to give some names of women architects. So my natural response to them, out of annoyance many times, was, aren't your own teachers women architects? So this is also something where I realized that many women have taken academics and research and this deviation, like you and me, we have been transdisciplinary scholars all our lives. We are doing bit of everything, whether it is research, consultancy, teaching, whatever choices we make. So that also, makes a difference in the sense when we are counting or quantifying the presence of women in architecture. Like
Yeah.
for example, many of my women architect friends who are newly made friends, many people didn't even know that I have an architecture background because they associate me with water. So it's only through this research, and many a times I say myself, and I feel blessed to be coming from architecture background, because that allowed me to do these many things and deviate and still feel confident in the field I am holding on to my learnings. But because we do not consider women teachers as architects, because we do not consider people like me, or I do not want to use your name here, as architects, maybe the number, the quantification of women in architecture gets further reduced. This is my learning over last 3-4 years when I'm doing this research. This is just to give an little bit of disclaimer from it. Having said that, the risk is still there, because many women don't even practice or don't even teach, don't even research. They are not even utilizing their education, and that is pity. But if they're doing anything related to the profession, deviating even far left or far right, doesn't matter, it still works. So let us have this discussion some other time, because we will plan panel discussion between some of the speakers or respondents of our research. But let me come to the last question, which is a little lighter as compared to what I have been asking so far. And maybe it's a good time also to really ask you, I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and maybe you can convince other female architects and practitioners and scholars and academicians whom you know in your network to really engage with us in this conversation and help us really come out with some rich insights from all of you. So my last question to you, Banashree, is on your message to the young generation. And the message in two folds. One is what it is to be in the profession of architecture and built environment. And the other question is how can we engender the profession itself and make it more towards gender neutral? As I discussed, let us live a day when we don't have to discuss gender in the profession. Over to you.
Yeah, I think first of all, architecture as a profession, like I was saying, gives you the freedom to think, and and then also it is typically I always call it a kind of mother discipline, in the sense that it's inclusive and understanding of a lot of other things. Yeah. Whether it's sociology, or it is engineering, or it is regional planning, or things like that. And that's why you see so many architects, for instance, in NGOs. Yeah, you see so many architects who are doing varied things, like you and me, for instance. Yeah, we're not typical architects who are designing hotels and stuff like that. Though that is also required, somebody who's doing, biogas, somebody is doing solar energy and all that. But then that basic discipline is something which allows all this to happen. And I think it kind of allows people to unfold their creative ability and their thinking power. And I would say that they should, take advantage of that. And also, I think, read a lot, watch a lot of movies and things like that along with it.
Travel a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's about shaping the environment and how you can do it. And the more you observe, the more you absorb, the better you become, not only as
Yeah.
architects, but as people who can, bring about a change in the
Yeah.
environment. Yeah. So that is one thing. And I think, Mansee, what you said is very important, is that, we have to get to a day when we're not talking about gender, that everybody is basically, as a professional. And I think women also have to work towards that, in the sense that, unfortunately, a lot of women, they create these limitations for themselves, in the sense that they assume that there are these kind of do's and don'ts which they have to observe. And that's what you sort of mentioned also is very important, is that is based on what kind of background you come from, whether you are empowered enough to, sort of take these freedoms when they come, and access the opportunities. And I think what's also important is to, manage the family and have an understanding with the family members of the importance of the work that you're doing. Yeah. And not play, kind of second fiddle to whatever is going on. I think that for women is very important. Yeah. And a lot of times, at least I've seen from a lot of friends, that they impose constraints on themselves because they
Yes.
feel that they should be doing, you have an assumption of certain gender roles, which but I think once people understand, everybody is very adjusting, and at least that's what I found.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Banashree. Thank you really for opening up your heart and as well as head to us. And if you have any questions for me or for the research itself, this is the time for you to ask that. And Monica, if you would like to ask anything, this is the time to really do that. From my end, it's the end. So, but I'm very happy to take any questions if you have.
Okay, my question would be that, you've embarked on this very interesting bit of research, yeah? So when will we get to see, whatever you said, a coffee table book and things like that? The YouTube channel is there, of course. But, this whole thing wrapped up and together, it would be very interesting and nice to see. And secondly, what you were talking about, this possible interaction between various people. Yeah, that would also be a very nice thing to happen. So do you see that happening in the foreseeable future?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for both the questions which are pressing for me as well and important questions. So I'll take the second question first, because last year we did try to organize some discussion between our respondents. I'm calling respondent as part of research, but all of our speakers, we could not materialize it, even up to reaching council. We could send an email to them to help us organize the event. So we could not, but the effort is on. So hopefully we find some other platform to organize some interaction between all of you who have interacted. And as you mentioned, the YouTube series is already there. There are many people who have viewed our interviews, by the way. All these interactions are very well viewed. So that stays there. This will be considered as a raw version, and we will edit it and then put it together. As you saw, we had some technical glitch in the between. As far as manuscript is concerned, we are working towards it, and we actually discussed that 50 will be a good number to come up with the first volume, because we actually had paused at 25, and we realized that it is not a good enough number to really show something to even all of you, for that matter. And Monica has better updates on the on the text part of it, but we are immediately writing the first draft and we send it back to you people. for your feedback. And we require a little bit more information from all the speakers in terms of your official resume and all, so that we can put the words more correctly in names of schools and everything. And we hope 2024 may see the light of the first volume of 50 speakers, because 50 still I feel less, but hopefully at least we will have the draft manuscript to share with all of you, all put together, even if it is not the final draft or the packaged product. Because the book which inspired me to work on this had 151 biographies of women who changed the world in last 1 century. So if I'm targeting 100, I am not near, but I am not far also. I will consider, because it is important for me to motivate my team also to continue working. These are slow research, they don't happen as a full-time research. We are just doing it out of passion. So we do have a target, at least to have the first draft and a draft which can be packed together, because that will also help to expedite the next 50, it's like a vehicle, first and second gear drives slowly, and third and fourth gear will work faster. So we do hope that our second part of next 50 will be much faster than the first 50, because first 50 is going to take me around 4 years. So you can imagine how slow the process is. I have 90% of cancellation rate when I'm calling for these interaction, and you can also relate that. But I can understand, because all of us have a busy schedule, and this is not the main profession even I am practicing. I'm doing it because I strongly feel that I should be doing it. So yeah, something is going to come very soon, and we have a group of WhatsApp group where we are going to include you also, so that you are constantly updated. Like everyone in that group knows that today we are discussing with you. So you will be updated on what's going on, and the scholars are going to reach you individually also to get the manuscript text of your part. So that's a little bit to keep you engaged in the process, so that we are also self-motivating ourselves, and we are also accountable to all our, participants.
Great. Sounds good. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks.